doing it for the county. If I took time off to go up there, of course I'm going to promote the county because that's what I do.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've actually considered it quite a bit myself, that it would be good to get some more kids. There was a lot of, on the evaluations, there was a lot of people saying they'd like to see more livestock, different livestock when they come to Farm Day. And I know the 4-H people have tried, but there's getting to be, you know, harder for the kids to schedule, or less kids that do a lot of the bigger animals nowadays. So I've asked, you know, I know the 4-H coordinator there, he's talked about starting a Carroll County livestock club, and I've told him that I'd definitely be interested in volunteering, being a leader in something like that, and try to get more kids involved in it.
He does a very good job.
Yes, he does. He does a very good job with you.
I think, go ahead.
Just a question. Now that you're keeping 2 pigs, are you going to name them?
We might. It'd be nice if, you know, I don't know, we might, I got to come up with something catchy that would be nice. It would be, you know, you see, when you go to the fairs, you see the oxen, they always have, you know, some neat, catchy names that go together, so.
I guess I was surprised at the Farm Day, and Mr. Babson, I'm sure, would have picked it up if he was there. And that is, the Sheriff's Department had a horse.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't realize that the Sheriff's Department I knew they had a dog, but I didn't realize they had a horse. And it had the blanket, the Sheriff's Department blanket on it. There was a deputy that was riding it. So I thought I'd just leave that open for Mr. Babson.
Did she have a car starter in her pocket?
Should have horse starter.
Damon?
Wait a minute. You're talking about Carroll County? Carroll County Sheriff's Office has a horse?
If I could
There was one there.
fill in a little bit, there's I believe she's a part-time officer. She has a couple of horses herself, and she brought one. She was going to bring 2, but she ended up, one wasn't feeling good or something, and so she brought one. The sheriff did ask them if they would be interested a few months ago at doing that for the Farm Day event, coming around and doing that. And they called me, and I said, sure, that'd be great. And then they also set up, at that morning, I wasn't expecting it, they also brought their trailer out, their emergency trailer, to talk to people and let them know what they do. So it was great participation by the Sheriff's Department also.
Okay, because that would have been probably an unauthorized purchase if all of a sudden he came up with a horse. I can imagine.
I can see the headlines now.
Yeah,
in the
I
Daily
was going to
Sun.
say.
I believe Heather, I think her name was Heather, is a person that works over at the courthouse.
Okay.
And it has not, we're not paying anything for that horse. It's just something that she has, and she brought it in. Dominic, you had a question?
Yeah, I guess my question would be on the horse.
Yeah.
Liability.
Yeah.
Not to rain on the parade, but if the horse, God forbid, should bite someone or kick someone, I believe that would probably fall on the county, not
Right.
the individual that owns the horse. So I don't know if that
We would be covered.
prior to that.
We'd be covered in that case for any kind of livestock, animals.
And it was looked into, because they called me and asked me about it, and I
Yeah.
tried to tell them to either talk to you or call
Yeah.
Primex.
Yeah.
So I know they did look into it.
Yeah.
I don't believe you knew about it, did you? Until
What's
you
that?
showed up.
I didn't,
Right.
no.
So I'm wondering how much they did look into it.
Okay, you have a question?
Nope.
No. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Is that a state-of-the-art
Horse?
horse?
Pretty nice looking horse.
Yeah.
It was a rescue horse also, she did say that.
I think it's really nice they showed up.
Yeah. I think the Sheriff's Department did a good job in cooperating, and I think the nursing home staff and others did a superb job.
Yes, they did.
Credit given to everybody. All set?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Did you get the curbing straightened out with Chris?
Yeah, we're just gonna have to live with it. It was designed that way to make the water flow down to those ditches, which I'm not really excited about, but we're gonna just have to deal with it and figure it out as we go. There's not a lot we can do because of the design.
Yeah.
I was gonna stay and listen to the landscaping.
Fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Carol. Carol Jowdy is a landscape designer for the new nursing home.
And I would like to introduce you to Hayden McLaughlin, who's the owner of Belknap Landscape, to Commissioner Sorensen and Commissioner Solomon.
Nice to meet you.
I think if you're going to speak, you have to say.
That's fine.
We need to speak up. Just whisper it to me. So I have been moving forward with getting cost of trees for the areas that we talked about. And the costs are wildly different. I'm just going to, here, if you want to put it up. And, but I think now that we have a plan, it makes sense to go ahead and go ahead with all the costing to try to understand how that works in terms of one of the, I actually sent it out to 4 different, 3 nurseries and then to Belknap, who also has stock. And Bill Stockman had, the most local person had nothing that we're looking for, but in terms of the sizes. So I think it makes...
In terms of sizes or in terms of plant material?
Size.
Species.
And species, right. Yeah, he just doesn't carry that kind of
doesn't have
size.
That native, okay.
Right. So I do have those quotes from 2 places. But again, I think it makes sense to get some costing out of the whole project before we can make a decision whether we're paying for a tree that's $120 or $190 or $290. So that would be my proposal, is just to get the cost of the entire project. But I have a couple of concerns, and one of the reasons that Hayden is here is because we walked the site on Friday, and he had a couple concerns that we'll get to as well. But one of mine is, and again, we're just trying to find out whose responsibility or where the cost would go, is in the neighborhood gardens, there was no drip line. I just kind of copied this for you. No drip line, and you can look at these pictures because this just clarifies it, where we feel that they are definitely needed. Against the pads, the concrete pads that went in. And one of the other questions was, so it's dripping right onto the grass. It's been hydroseeded, and across the path, which is obvious. Also, the question came up about railing. What would stop a person from walking right off the pad and going towards the path necessarily? Is it we expecting that to be plant material?
Where are we talking about?
Talking about right off those pads.
The front entrance?
Nope, Memory Gardens.
Oh.
So they're coming out of the door, and what's to stop them from moving right off into the space? Right now there's no drip strip at all there, and I'm just thinking it was kind of a design omission that they didn't quite get to that, because it's the only place in the entire property where the water off of 2 roofs, as you can see, so it's a lot of water, is draining right into the garden area.
Yeah.
So wondering if Andrews, we can get them back to put that in, or if it would be our responsibility.
See, that's why I wanted you to come to a meeting yesterday morning. We meet every 2 weeks, and these kinds of things, we have final say on them, but we don't know what Andrews is going to do. We don't know what Bonapage is going to do with those areas until you ask the questions. So you have to check with Chris to find out what his plan, whether they're going to put the stone in for the drip line or whatever.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, and so the second question there was, what stops someone from walking right into the garden or over the drip strip? And is that an architect's question?
I don't
Was
think
a railing
it's...
spec'd in?
I guess we ought to have Sandy here, but there is nothing to stop the residents from walking in the present gardens.
Right, but this is sort of a pad where there's nothing there to stop them from walking. And if there's going to be a drip strip, that's what I'm just asking about a railing.
Is this in the garden, the 2 garden areas
right.
we're talking about?
So, Here's the concrete pad.
Yeah.
They walk out the door.
Yeah,
What's to stop them from just walking across that?
Nothing.
Okay, so then that wouldn't be very safe to walk across the drip strip.
I guess I go back to what's presently being used over there. You need to take a look at that. I don't see anybody walking into those areas. I see maybe one resident I saw over there the other day where he was deadheading some of the plants, flowers that were in there, but I don't see any problem with them walking wherever they want to walk within that garden area.
Okay, I just don't think it's...
I'd be cautious about the water situation.
The water feature, sure.
Walking into that.
No, I think we're in the process of designing that, but, I mean, the question is if someone stumbles into a drip strip, it's not going to be safe footing, and there'd be nothing if there's no railing
Maybe that's
there.
why there's no drip strips in there.
That would be a good question. And whose
Yeah.
question would that be? The
Chris.
architect? Okay, Chris.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, because there's nothing catching the drainage off of two pretty big roof areas.
Yeah. Isn't there a drainage outlet in the garden area?
There is. There is.
So you're concerned about what then? Catching the water off the roof?
I can design a rain garden there. I mean, that's what, you need something there to catch the storm water. It's a huge amount of water, therefore I really can't control what's happening in the garden.
I would suggest that right after this meeting, you talk with Chris.
I would do that.
Find
I
out
would
what
do that.
is planned for that.
Right, because with that amount of stormwater hitting nothing but the garden or whatever's there is just pretty uncontrollable.
Okay.
And then the question would be, whose responsibility is it? And we did have a question about people walking right across into it. If there was plant material right up to the concrete, that would be different, but there can't be because there's stormwater running there. So it just...
Are you concerned about the snow coming off the roof too?
Exactly, that would be. So that's another reason that there wouldn't be plants right
They
there.
claim because of its asphalt on the roof that there would not be much snow coming off the roof, that it's going to hold on the roof or will melt off the roof, which goes to the water issue and maybe not the snow load.
Yeah, well, that depends on the conditions, really. And then if it
Mhm.
all comes at once,
Yeah.
maybe, sometimes you can do that. Anyway, that's a concern, so we'll look into that as well. One of the things questions I had, spec'd in some benches in the new sitting area and in this area, and I wasn't sure if anybody had talked about that, if they had been purchased, or would that
No.
be coming out of the landscape budget?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so I guess we're at the place where we had a walkthrough and looked at some of the paving dates, which is the 10th, which is next Wednesday, I believe.
Yep.
And you have the date of the 18th, or is it the 19th, for that open house that we were hoping to plant?
19th on a Friday. That's an evening.
Okay. So I guess I'm going to refer to Hayden at this point in terms of a couple things of just sequencing of just all the curb and the concrete and the paving going in, and then construction happening after that time in terms of running over the new pavement.
Good morning, Hayden
Good
McLaughlin,
morning.
Belknap Landscape Company. In our walkthrough last week, and then we were noticing, obviously, talking with Chris from Andrews. Am I accurate
No,
there?
he's with Bonifatius
Bonifatius
Stone.
Stone.
But who did we walk with from Andrews?
I think we were
He
walking
was a
with
site guy, site
Bob.
gentleman. Was
is
it Bob?
here. Yes.
Yeah,
the site,
okay.
Yes, we talked about it
And
a little bit.
From an execution standpoint, having fresh finish coat of pavement in the middle of August is not very friendly with the use of equipment to expedite planting.
Mhm.
So it's somewhat, I think, unrealistic to think that we could have plants in the ground by the 19th, considering it's going to have fresh pavement on the 10th. It's just from a standpoint of the pavement's going to be soft.
Well, can you do it before the 10th?
Considering today is the 3rd, probably not.
In 7 days.
We haven't bought plant material for it. I think it's unrealistic.
Okay.
Well, we don't, the